The Patriots are good, the Titans are bad. But what this game is about is Mike Vrabel's revenge. It's Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in, Titans fans, Patriots fans. It's a Locked On Titans, Locked On Patriots crossover Thursday, getting you ready for this Week 7 matchup. Before we dive into the biggest storylines for either team, which I think there might be a little bit of an intersection in the biggest storylines for these teams, the biggest matchups, the keys to victory for this game. Do want to let you know that Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I am Tyler Rowland, host of Locked On Titans, here with my guy Nick Cattles, host of Locked On Patriots. We also happen to do Locked On NFL for the Friday show, so make sure that you guys check that out as well as you get ready for your football weekend. But it's Crossover Thursday. We got this game to get into. Nick, I mean, how in the world is there any other outcome here than Mike Vrabel absolutely slapping the Titans around this weekend?
I mean, that's the story, right? You mentioned it at the top, man. Mike Vrabel returning to Tennessee, and just can they handle all the emotions? Can Vrabel handle his emotions? The team handle their emotions? Vrabel, speaking to the media on Wednesday, said, you know, this isn't going to be a win-one for the Gipper here. Okay, this is not going to be an emotional thing. There's interesting, there's important. This might be interesting, but really, is it important? All those lines that I'm sure you've heard before, Tyler, during his time in Tennessee. But the other part of this game, too, beyond just the Mike Vrabel part and those emotions, is that this is the third straight road game for the Patriots, which is a tremendous challenge no matter who you're playing at the NFL level. And of course, they right now sit atop the AFC East for the first time in 2021. So a lot of emotions, a lot of expectations, a lot of things to deal with on Sunday for the Pats.
Yeah, and the Titans are actually just coming off a 3-game road stretch of their own where they went to Houston and then Arizona and then Vegas. So coming home, there's got to be some sort of relief there. Obviously, you know, we could talk about Mike Vrabel and his revenge, but the Titans have a lot on their plate when it comes to coaching. If Patriots fans weren't paying attention or didn't hear about it, the Titans fired Brian Callahan this week. They're going with Mike McCoy, former San Diego Chargers. Yeah, that's how long ago it was, folks. They were the San Diego Chargers when Mike McCoy was their head coach. But Mike McCoy taking over as the interim head coach. Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan's dad, the offensive line coach, also went with him, but everything else is relatively the same. And outside of the Mike Vrabel revenge factor, like you were saying for the Titans, it's all about, can Mike McCoy get more out of this team? Again, coming off the road, 3 straight games, coming back home. And quite honestly, I don't know how you feel about this, Nick, but to me it feels like all of the pressure is now on the Patriots. The Titans have admitted that their season is in the gutter. They fired their coach. They're not expected to win. They're 5.5-point underdogs at home. I think it might even be 6.5 at this point now. All of the pressure is on New England to beat a team that they should beat. And listen, Mike Vrabel could say it's not a win-one for the Gipper, but we know how sports work. And we know that if they win this game, and I, would think that they would, that the Patriots players are going to go crazy and be happy for Mike Vrabel. And no matter what Vrabel says publicly, he's going to have a little bit of happiness internally as well.
Oh, I agree with you across the board, Tyler. I mean, you look at this game, the Patriots have all the pressure. There's literally no pressure on Tennessee. The world expects them to not be good. They haven't been very good. As you say, they said goodbye to Brian Callahan on Monday, and it can't get worse, right? I mean, Brian Callahan, to me, was one of, if not the worst head coaches in football. He didn't know simple rules, let alone clock management and timeout usage and all the things that you should know as a head coach. It was a disaster for him in Tennessee. So, I mean, Mike Vrabel has as many wins in New England as Callahan had with Tennessee. And it's been 6 weeks in New England for Mike Vrabel. So it really can't be any worse. Yeah. For the Tennessee Titans. So I agree with you on that accord. And I also think there's some mounting pressure on Drake Maye. Drake Maye right now, honestly, is playing MVP level football. I mean, he's one of, if you look at the analytics and the stats and all that, and just the eye test, he's literally been one of the top 6 or 7 quarterbacks in football unequivocally through the first 6 weeks. But as you continue to move forward this season, and it's all on him with no run game so far, you wonder, is there going to be a point where he slips up because it's human nature and you can't always be as good as he's been unless you're a top 2 or 3 guy at that position. So I also think there's some mounting pressure on Drake Maye to continue to make this offense work pretty much all on his own out there.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, Cam Ward has obviously had a struggle to start the season statistically. I would understand if Patriots fans are looking at Cam Ward's stats and going, man, this guy's terrible. But there's so much more context there. Like, they just fired the head coach because, quite frankly, he was trying to make Cam Ward play his system. And Nick, as you know, the test of a good head coach is molding what you're doing to what's best for your players. And I would say that was one of Callahan's, outside of the game management stuff, which is funny because he's like the anti-Vrabel. Offensive guy, scheme guy, not a CEO leader type, but didn't know the rules. Like, it was so bad when Vrabel is making rules with the competition committee. He's so locked in to things like he could find any loophole possible. So it was like a total 180 there for what you were looking for from the coach. But for Cam Ward, the Titans have to help him more. They have to get him on the move. They have to do more play action. They had a season low play action percentage rate last week against the Raiders. It made no sense at all. They got to do what he does best. Let him use his mobility. He's not Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen by any means, but he's best when he's outside the pocket, can read the field, use his spatial awareness, do those sorts of things. And the Titans simply haven't done that stuff enough. So helping Cam Ward, like getting the best out of Drake Maye, has been in my opinion, one of the biggest feathers in Mike Vrabel's cap. I was uncertain about whether Mike Vrabel could be the best head coach possible for a young quarterback in need of development. But along with Josh McDaniels and the offensive staff, I think Vrabel's done a great job of getting Drake Maye to the best football that we've seen from him in his young career. The Titans need to hope that Mike McCoy could start helping Cam Ward get back on track, and I think a lot of that starts with doing things that Cam Ward is more comfortable with.
Yeah, if people are watching the video, I'm smiling as Tyler's talking because I actually think Patriots fans are the fans that will completely understand everything you just said about Cam Ward because it's almost a carbon copy of what happened with Drake Maye last year in his rookie season, right? The offensive line issues, I would say the Patriots' offensive line last year was worse than Tennessee's offensive line is this year, but the lack of weapons and trying to get Drake Maye to move out of the pocket and utilize his athleticism, which Alex Van Pelt didn't do a ton of last year. And so a lot of the things that you just said, I think match up with Drake Maye in 2024. And now you see that step in development, as you just mentioned. And it's been huge. Josh McDaniels has been huge so far, trying to fit the offense around him. Interestingly enough, you mentioned play action. Not a lot of play action last week. I actually thought Josh McDaniels walked into the game against the Saints last weekend on a heater. I thought he was doing a really good job. But in the second half against the Saints, I thought he was too predictable. The offense lacked some creativity. They ran the football on first down 5 straight times. The final 5 first downs of that game, they were run plays, and hardly any of them worked. They lost yardage on most of them. So I'm interested to see how Josh McDaniels kind of pivots from last week's second half to this Tennessee defense, which obviously I'm sure a guy we'll talk about an awful lot throughout this episode is Jeffrey Simmons. How do you account for him? How do you account for some of these other players on that defensive line? It's going to be an interesting thing after what happened last week.
100%. And speaking of the Pats offensive line, Jeffrey Simmons, maybe the other way around as well, let's talk about some of the matchups that may determine this game in Week 7. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, and delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. I love Mint Mobile because I'm getting the same quality service that I had before, but at a fraction of the price. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may be slow, above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Today's episode is also brought to you by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. B-I-L-T. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. Built has made everyday life feel more rewarding because I can actually earn rewards while shopping at my favorite local restaurant or heading to the gym. From your neighborhood to your travel plans, turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl. That's JOINBILT.com/lockedonnfl. Make sure that you use our link so they know that we sent you. All right, Nick, let's continue today's crossover Thursday edition of Locked On Titans, Locked On Patriots. Again, thank you for making Locked On Titans and Locked On Patriots your first listen each and every day. But now we want to move from the storylines with the coaches and all of that and the quarterbacks to the big matchups that will probably determine this game. And I think a good place to start, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, is the Patriots offensive line against Jeffrey Simmons in particular. The Titans don't have a lot outside of Jeffrey Simmons, but they're getting T'Vondre Sweat back this week. He returned to practice after being on injured reserve. He should be in line to play. Jeffrey Simmons may very well be the best defensive player in the NFL through the first 6 weeks of the season. It would not be a stretch to say that, and he's at minimum in the conversation. Where are you at with the Patriots offensive line that seems very much improved? And do you see any weak spots that could allow Simmons to expose that matchup?
It's improved. It's improved, no doubt. But I agree with you that the top matchup is Simmons against the interior offensive line, because Jeffrey Simmons, to me, he can ruin drives, which can ruin games. And I watched the Raiders game from last weekend, and it was a field goal drive, the first drive of the game. But my freaking goodness, Jeffrey Simmons had a run stop. He had a tackle for loss. He collapsed the interior offensive line. Like, the entire interior offensive line of the Raiders was collapsed by one dude, Jeffrey Simmons, which opened up a Femi Oladejo tackle for loss. And then Simmons had a sack on that same drive. 4 impact plays. The dude is a monster. And if anybody knows it, understands it, it is Mike Vrabel and this defensive coaching staff, that a lot of the guys, of course, came from Tennessee. So they understand how big of an issue it is. And look, one of the things that the Patriots offensive line has to hold up to is against size. You mentioned Sweat, who is obviously a rather large human being. And when you've got him and Simmons out there, Garrett Bradbury's had a very good season considering the expectations. He was awful in pass protection last year. He has stepped up big time this season, but he does tend to struggle at times with size because he's not a big guy. He's undersized. So Jared Wilson as well, the rookie left guard. He's struggled at times with some power and some size. And Mike Onwenu, who the right guard is, Tyler, he has, for the most part, played well, but there has been 2 or 3 big plays every game where he's been beaten badly. And sometimes it's on the goal line. I mean, he picks the worst times to flop. So there are some questions, I think, the interior offensive line of the Patriots with this specific matchup.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And listen, it's not just in pass protection, too. I kind of look at this right now. The Patriots have 549 rushing yards on the season. That's in the bottom 6 or 7. I do believe bottom 8. They're 25th in the league right now. So it's not like they're blowing people off the ball in the run game either, which if the Titans can get them into 3rd and long situations, it can help a pass rush that really hasn't been that good outside of Jeffrey Simmons. And Sweat has had good moments in pass rush, but he still is yet to get a sack in his NFL career after only playing in the first game against Denver, and then last season didn't really get quarterbacks on the ground when he got that pressure. So given the Titans defense, 3rd and long situations could allow them to run more blitzes, run more stunts, and maybe they can get some pressure on Drake Maye, because my big matchup to watch is the Patriots wide receivers against the Titans secondary. The Titans secondary has been generally solid throughout the season. There haven't been a ton of explosive plays throughout the year, but Drake Maye is so good throwing deep passes. He like that sequence that he had against the Saints where it was the phantom offensive pass interference call. What are we doing there? That was that was not offensive pass interference at all, and Diggs catching the ball. But then he goes right back to Mac Hollins, and it's just two back-to-back beautiful throws right in the breadbasket. I am a bit worried that Drake Maye, which I talked about the Patriots maybe not running the ball so absolutely fantastic, but they have certainly been throwing the ball very well. Number 6 in the NFL right now in total passing yards. I think the Titans can get attacked down the field against Drake Maye, and I'm worried about Amani Hooker, Xavier Woods at safety, Quandre Diggs. Woods and Diggs and Hooker, none of them are very fast, in my opinion. They're all slower. Hooker's slowing down. Woods is near 30. He's slowing down. Diggs is near the end of his career. He's slowing down. So if they can get some speed down the field, I think it could be a big problem, especially like a Pop Douglas, who hasn't been maybe as good as, Stephon Diggs, and Kayshon Boutte, who has been awesome this year, it seems. Douglas has that speed that I think they could get him down the field and make some big plays for Drake Maye.
It's an interesting passing attack because it's like every single week it's somebody different. You had Stephon Diggs, who had the back-to-back big games against Carolina, and then, of course, his revenge game in Buffalo, which was just, he was terrific. Yep. But it's really every week somebody else. Week 1, it was Kayshon Boutte. You can throw Hunter Henry in there. He's had a big week or two. Last weekend was Pop Douglas and Boutte. Pop Douglas should have had a bigger game, as you mentioned, if it wasn't for the phantom OPI call on Stephon Diggs. So they've really been able to pick apart defenses with different weapons at different times, which is, an old school, Tom Brady, who's his favorite receiver, the open receiver. That old saying, right? It has that kind of feel to this offense. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Josh McDaniels worked with Tom Brady for so long. And Josh McDaniels is, again, the offensive coordinator. You mentioned the run game, though. I'll tell you, the Pats run game has been an abomination. It's been a joke. It's been embarrassing. And it's really across all levels. I mean, the offensive line is to blame. The running backs are to blame. The tight ends are to blame. The wide receivers are to blame. Josh McDaniels sometimes, like I said last weekend against the Saints, his predictability on first down, I think, was part of the problem as well. They got to figure that out because, at the top, I was talking about Drake Maye and really him, carrying this offense. It's been all on him, and you can't expect that to continue to be the case for the rest of the season. It's just asking too much. So the Patriots, I say it every week, Tyler, they can't be one-dimensional this weekend, and hopefully they figure it out. The other thing I would say, when you look at matchups, Harold Landry versus J.C. Latham is an interest to me. And you look at it, Harold Landry did not practice on Wednesday. It might be them managing him because he's a vet. Vrabel's done a lot of that this year, managing the older players. But Harold Landry did have a pretty ugly-looking play against the Saints where I thought he was done for the season. They showed the replay. Adam Archuleta sounded like he wanted to throw up in the booth. I don't know if Harold Landry is Gumby, but he went back out there and played the rest of the game. I have no idea how he did it. So I don't know if this is, stemming from that play against the Saints and there's really an issue and maybe he gutted it out last weekend and maybe he's having some problems this week. We'll have to wait and see because I think that matchup, Latham's second game back from IR, I'm not going to read too much into last week because, again, it's his first game back and it's Max Crosby, who's one of the best players in football. For sure. But Harold Landry, I know Tennessee fans might be like, Harold Landry? We watched him last year. He looks like a different guy. His first step is there. The quickness is there. He's comfortable with this system. He's comfortable with Vrabel. And if Harold Landry is not out there, they've got some problems on the edge. So hopefully he's out there for the Patriots' sake.
Yeah, they would need him. And the crazy thing about Harold Landry to me is he's using different pass rush moves than he ever used in Tennessee. Like, he basically only had the speed rush, the dip and the bend. Now he's using cross chops and two-handed swipes and stuff. He's just totally gone to another level. 5 sacks on the year, leads the Patriots in pressures with 25, according to Pro Football Focus. He's definitely been an impact player, and that'll be something to watch there. I do think that it's funny to go back to the Patriots run game and the Titans run defense. The Titans run defense is bottom 10 in the NFL. They're giving up 133 yards per game. The Patriots run game is bottom 10 in the NFL. We talk so much about strength on strength stuff, but that's weakness on weakness. And whoever can take advantage of the other team's weakness, I think will be in a great spot to win. But speaking of winning, we do need to talk about the keys to victory in this game. And it's no secret that the Titans are underdogs. So I think that the Titans need to go with a classic underdog playbook that we've seen since the beginning of time with football to win this one. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, our favorite athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. I have a Mazda CX-5 at home, absolutely love it, and I know you guys would love a Mazda too. Like our favorite players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. It's Mazda. Move and be moved. All right, speaking of the impossible, I think the Tennessee Titans are in a tough spot with getting a win, and that's why when we go to the keys to victory here and what has to happen for each team to win the game, for me, I look at the Titans, and they got to go with the classic underdog playbook, Nick. They have to win time of possession, run the football, and keep the ball out of Drake Maye's hands because he's going to create explosive plays. They need to win the turnover battle, and that's something that, you know, you look at the Patriots in the games where they've lost this year, it's mostly been because they had major turnover issues. So it's not completely unrealistic for the Titans to think, hey, you know, we could potentially win here. Like their 2 losses on the year, they tied the turnover battle. Their other loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, 5 turnovers and still only lost by 7 points. Probably a better team than the Steelers, if we're honest. But if the Titans don't win the turnover battle, which feels like they haven't since Denver week 1, and Cam Ward, every time he gets hit, he fumbles, and tip passes at the line of scrimmage are going to be big this week. You know, the Patriots are going to be all over that. Mike Vrabel is going to see how many tip passes Cam Ward has had. The Titans need to win the time of possession battle. They need to win the turnover battle, and I think they need something crazy to happen. They need like a kickoff return for a touchdown, or a punt block, or a field goal block. They need something crazy like that to happen to beat a team that is better than them on paper and better than them overall. So they're going to need the classic underdog playbook to be able to win this one.
Yeah, if I'm Mike Vrabel, if I'm Zach Core, who has replaced Terrell Williams due to prostate cancer as the defensive coordinator and the play caller on Sundays, my number one priority defensively is to put this game completely on Cam Ward. Put it all on the rookie quarterback. Keep shutting down the run. The Patriots have been one of the best run defenses in football, and they've really done it against some good offenses as far as running the ball, right? We see what Carolina's doing running the ball. Last weekend, Rico Dowdle loses his mind and goes off. The Patriots shut down James Cook in Buffalo on Sunday night. So their run defense has been very good, to the point where I don't want to take it for granted, but I almost feel like you walk in every week and you feel pretty good that a team's not going to be able to run over you. So if you can shut down the run, or at least limit the run significantly, and force this game into the hands of Cam Ward, you get the rookie quarterback with the interim head coach. It'll be interesting to see if Tennessee changes anything. You mentioned some of the offensive things that you think they should be doing. We'll see if they do it. Your turnover point is a good one. And look, Drake Maye, the best thing about Drake Maye's 2025 so far is that he's practically cut his turnover-worthy play rate in half from last season to this season. And the last few games, he has not put the ball in harm's way. You go back to the loss against Pittsburgh, you mentioned it, 5 turnovers, 2 by Drake. So one of them was, in the red zone, in the end zone with a pick, and then he had the fumble, carelessly holding the football. So I agree. They got to take care of the ball. The other thing for the Patriots, I think, is that they've got to finish drives. And And Tennessee's defense hasn't been great, but they are 12th in the NFL in red zone defense. So they've done a pretty good job of limiting teams finding pay dirt when they hit the red area. The Patriots, middle of the pack offensively in the red zone. They're 17th in the league. So, you look at last week's game, Tyler, against the Raiders. The Patriots get the ball inside the 5 after a Drake Maye scramble, and it's a bleep show. The first play is a run for about 1 yard. The second play is a run, falls apart because the offensive line, they lose 3 yards. Then Drake Maye inexplicably gets a delay of game, which pushes it out to the 9-yard line, and they run a safe screen to Stephon Diggs that gets 3 yards, and they kick a field goal. So if the Patriots can finish drives and put some points on the board, that's even more pressure on Cam Ward.
Yeah, 100%. I think when you talk about Cam Ward, to go along with the underdog playbook, the Titans got to find a way to hit some big plays. Right now, the Patriots are the worst defense in the NFL in yards per attempt. So when the Patriots pass defense does give up things, they're giving up big plays down the field. And the yards after catch is a big thing as well. So the Titans have to find a way to hit some shots down the field. And likewise, on the other side of it, the Titans' yards per attempt is terrible. Like, the passing game has been awful. Even on defense, they haven't been good with that. So I am worried about the deep passing. And I think to add to some of the stuff that I said earlier, you're going to need, if you're the Titans, you're going to need to hit some deep passes and get some major chunk plays, because you're not going to be able to grind it out against this defense, like you said, with the run defense. That's just simply not going to happen. So the Titans are going to have to find a way to get some deep passing going, something that they've really struggled with throughout the year. Who in the secondary right now? I know Christian Gonzalez has come back here. Who in the secondary has been struggling, and who do you think they can rely on to play well?
Well, I think some of the early issues, the first game, some of those stats are just crippled by the first game against the Raiders when the Patriots gave up nine plays of 20-plus yards in that game against the Raiders and Geno Smith. They've had their trouble. Last week, first play of the game, they blitzed Carlton Davis, and Carlton Davis, pretty much with the speed of the Tin Man, can't get to the quarterback, and that leaves Kyle Duggar one-on-one against Chris Olave, which nobody wants, probably including Kyle Duggar, and Spencer Rattler hits Olave for 50-plus yards. So Jalen Hawkins did not practice on Wednesday. He's been a starting safety. He was out last week. If you want big plays, I think you try to get matchups against Kyle Duggar, who has struggled mightily, especially the past couple of years, in coverage and giving up big plays over the top. So the other safety is Craig Woodson. He had some issues early because he's a rookie, but he's improving, and I think he actually played pretty well last weekend. Gonzalez is a game changer. It's interesting, the Patriots don't really let Gonzalez travel with the best receiver, so they've pretty much stuck to sides. Last week, they played a lot of zone against Rattler. I don't know what they're going to do this weekend against Cam Ward. I will say, there's kind of two thoughts here. You can either try to play man against the questionable weapons of Tennessee. I'm not really wowed by any of their receivers. So maybe you play man and say, no, we can lock them down and we can devote extra people to the run game and spying on Cam Ward to make sure his legs don't go bananas against us. Or you can play zone and test the patience of the rookie quarterback and hope your pass rush gets home. So I don't really know what they're going to do, but they are better since Christian Gonzalez has been back.
I'll take a guess here, and I say they play more man coverage. The Titans don't have anybody that can beat you in man. It's been a problem for the Titans going before Cam Ward. They haven't had good answers against man coverage. I would bet they play a little bit more man than they normally do this week. But looking forward to the game, Nick. We don't need, exact score predictions, but I have a hard time seeing the Titans pull off this win, even with the fired coach performance bump that you see sometimes. I think the Patriots are just too good, and I have a hard time believing that Mike Vrabel would allow his team to lose this game. I think the Titans fall here to 1-6, and I think the Patriots move to 5-2.
The Patriots should win, will they? I actually wait to give my prediction on my Friday episode, Tyler. So I'm gonna hold it out there. They should win. Everything tells you they should win, but do I think they'll win? I guess Patriots fans, Locked On Patriots listeners, viewers will have to wait until Friday to find out what I think about that.
Hey, Locked On Titans fans, tune in too. You can still get more behind the scenes information there.
That's right.
I'll make another guess, and I guess that you think the Patriots are going to win. But we will see how everything shakes out. We're going to be making more guesses on games all over the National Football League on Locked On NFL, the Friday episode, so make sure that you guys check that out when me and Nick talk about our best bets of the weekend. But that's going to do it for today's Crossover Thursday episode. Went over the key storylines, the matchups to watch, the keys to victory as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Locked On Titans, Locked On Patriots. That's going to do it for us today. And again, make sure that you tune in Friday for our full game preview episodes. Everybody take care out there.